What's happening? Today we're going to be changing the belt tensioner on my 2016 Toyota Tundra, and I figured I'd show you guys how to do it. My particular Tundra happens to be a TRD Pro, so it's got this skid plate that is quite beefy and quite complex. But here's a rundown of basically how it goes. In the very back here, you have two size 15 bolts and two size 15 nuts up here. Also, take note of that angle washer and where it's pointed at, because that is key whenever you go to reinstall. In the middle here, you have two size 12 bolts, and on top there's some spacers there, so be sure that you keep up with those. Up front, you also have two bolts that are size 12 and have spacers on them, so make sure that you keep up with those as well. Next is the recovery point, and that's held on by two 17s. And those bolts are quite hard to get off, so if you got some 𝐼𝙡𝐽, go ahead and put it on there. This happens to be my drug of choice for bolts like that right here. This is an 18 volt that I've converted to a 20 volt. I'll leave the link down in the description for that little piece. It's really inexpensive. Next, you have this hex-headed bolt directly in the center. You're going to want to make sure that you have a hex bit socket for this. This is a size 5. You're also going to need a size 6 later on. There's a sequence to loosen these bolts, and let me show you why. This bolt is there solely to allow you to install the skid plate. This skid plate is very heavy, and it's going to require some jungle gymming around with your knees and whatnot to keep the thing held up. Loosen this bolt last. Then you can start with the rear and then go to the middle and then go to the front and then go to the recovery point. Now that you have all those other bolts loose, you can go ahead and take that number 5 hex bolt, start taking it loose. It's going to take some pressure, but once you get it loose, start working it down and slowly lower the skid plate as you go. That's the cool thing about that number 5 hex bolt there, is the fact that it allows you to do that. It's going to take some jungle gymming around with you holding up one side with your knee and pushing up on the other. Be careful as you do it, but you can get the skid plate down. If you have a partner, go ahead and ask them for some help too. Now that you've jungle gymmed off the skid plate, now it's time to remove the serpentine belt. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to locate the belt tensioner, and then you're going to apply pressure on it. Loosen up the belt, take the belt off. I have a whole video on how to replace the serpentine belt, so if you want to start off there and then come back and pick up here, then go ahead and do that now. With the skid plate off, it's extremely easy to see where the belt tensioner is located on the front of the engine there, but it's hard for me to show you on video what you need to do to remove it. So I'm just going to show you with the part actually off of the truck. So the belt tensioner is going to be orientated on the front of the motor just like this right here. There's going to be a bolt right there, and then there's going to be a bolt in the middle. The bolt in the middle is a number 6 hex bolt, and the bolt down here is either a 12 or a 14. I can't remember off the top of my head. You take the number 6 bolt off of the center here, and then you remove this bolt, and then the tensioner comes off. Now you get your new part, and you're going to put this bolt in, and then you put this bolt in, and then you torque it all down. Now I've got the skid plate just held up by that center screw there. All right, so back here, these angled washers, it's imperative they go in the right way. And if you'll see, that cross member's kind of got an angle to it. So you're going to put the small end of that angled washer over here towards the taller side. And I'll be able to stick those spacers up where they need to go, and the washers in the back and angle them where they need to go, because the skid plate is being held up by that. So thank you for putting that there, even though it was kind of a pain in the ass. All right. Got her all back. No extra pieces, so that's always good. Next thing you want to do is you want to reach in and you want to turn the key on, but you don't want to let it start. So do this once or twice. That way you can make sure that the belt's on the right track. Now come re-inspect your belt, make sure that everything's on the right track and everything looks good, and then start it up, make sure there's no squeaking. Success, no more squeaking. But my final takeaway is this: whenever you have a squeak, just replace it all at one time, man. I've said that time and time again, and I didn't go by my own advice, but I really should have. I ended up doubling the labor, and I ended up probably spending a little bit more money. I'll leave a link down in the bottom to a kit where you can get the tensioner, the pulley, and the belt all in one. I'll try to find 𝐲𝐭 and 𝐈𝐧, but those are the only two that I recommend. Both of them high quality stuff. 𝐲𝐭 is actually what comes on it, and believe it or not, it says it's made in America, so I'd go with the 𝐲𝐭. Links down in the description below to everything that I used here. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure that you hit that like button if you liked it. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button if you want to see more like it. Until next time, peace.